Hi, welcome to Mondays with Michelle, a sanctuary where we unite to inspire hope and peace through engaging discussions about mental health, relationships, and parenting. I'm Michelle, your guide through the sanctuary. I am a mental health therapist with over 14 years of experience, an aspiring author currently querying agents, a peacemaker, and an advocate for those without a voice. Today, we'll be discussing balance in relationships, including the self and other, autonomy and community, and independence and dependence. All right, so we always begin with a card. This week, I decided to draw a card from the Power of Surrender cards by Judith Orloff, MD. There's also an accompanying book if you would be interested in that. But the card that I drew today is surrender to your soul's path. Your life's journey has been perfectly designed for your soul's growth. Embrace every lesson and every moment. I thought that was really perfect today, especially tying into the activity we're going to be doing later about our identity, kind of answering the hard question, who am I? So, part of who am I is our soul and the path laid out in front of us. We've been through part of it, so part of it is behind us, part of it's still in front of us. But that path, we don't always know what's going to happen, and it's not always pleasant. There can be a lot of bumps in the road, twists, turns, forks in the road. But it's all perfectly designed for the lessons we need to learn while we're here and the path that we need to continue to go down during the time that we have here. All right, so let's move forward and start talking a little bit more about the self and other. So, part of the things that we balance in relationships is balancing our time with ourselves, who we are as a human being, so we don't lose our own identity. So the self is that identity. It's the concept of who we are. It's our own understanding of our unique identity, beliefs, values, and experiences. And it also involves answering the question, who am I? For a lot of people, that's a very deep question to just reflect on who we are as a human, mind, body, and spirit. So, like I said, I have an activity in a few minutes that will help us examine that a little bit more. So, then the other is essentially anything outside of ourself. So it's everything that exists, including other individuals, the broader world in general. Anything outside of ourselves is the other. It's not our mind, body, spirit. So we do need other people. We need to be around others because we are social creatures. So we need time to be in relationship. We need community. We need all of those things. So some of the things that the other provides for us is it helps meet our emotional needs for community, needs for relationship, needs for peace, all of those emotional needs that we each have. Other individuals around us also provide support. I don't know anybody who has lived a perfect life, so we all need support to make it through life's challenging moments. Others provide validation. They let us know that we're not alone and what we're thinking, how we're feeling, it all makes sense. because we're all human beings and we all have these very complex, intricate thoughts and emotions that we have to navigate on a daily basis. They also provide us with empathy and understanding. So they can feel how we're feeling. Just like we can feel how other people are feeling, others can feel how we're feeling. And it offers opportunities to connect with the other. So, empathizing with other people's experiences, challenges, and then in return, they empathize with our experiences as well. Then we have the balance in between the self and other. Because if we spend too much time with ourselves, we're not engaging with other people and we're not getting those emotional needs met. We're not receiving the support. It can be very isolating. But if we spend all of our time focusing on other people, we may fall into some people pleasing habits or tendencies where we put other people before ourselves. So we really need a balance between self and other, where we honor and value our own identities as a human being while we simultaneously respect and appreciate the richness and enjoyment that others bring into our life. So, I talked a little bit about people pleasing. That happens when we put everyone else ahead of ourselves. So we stop honoring and valuing ourselves. It can lead us to lose our own identity in relationships, to kind of lose that sense of who am I outside of this partnership. And that happens because we're people pleasing. We're not staying true to who we are as individuals. We may be trying to change ourselves to make some sort of relationship work. The other thing that can happen when we're out of balance in this area is the concept of othering. Othering is a mindset that creates marginalization, prejudice, and imbalanced power dynamics. Obviously, that's an issue. Basically, that's the concept that people like me are better than people like them. They're not like me. They are the other. If you go back to elementary, middle school, high school, a lot of times schools have those dynamics between like the in crowd, the in group versus the out group. The outcast, so to speak. The in group tends to shun the out group and can make some not so nice, some rude, marginalizing sort of statements where they exclude a certain group of people from activities. So that's an example that a lot of us can relate to of how individuals are othered in a not helpful way. And so the balance between self and other, so it doesn't get out of balance, is really setting boundaries. Who am I? Where do I end? And where does the other begin? And you can also not only respect and value yourself, but respecting all human beings, not only people who look like you or think like you do or do the same things that you do. If you're a golfer, you can absolutely respect other human beings who are on a bowling league. If you're on a bowling league, you can absolutely respect other human beings who play for the symphony. We are all unique and we are all important. And that's why having healthy boundaries is so important, and also maintaining balance in this place. We can absolutely honor and value ourselves and people who have some of the similar interests as we do, while we can also respect and appreciate the enrichment and enjoyment that other people bring as well. So that brings me to autonomy and community, that balance that's needed between those two concepts. So, autonomy refers to an individual's capacity to make their own decisions. That provides a sense of freedom, independence, and self determination. It's our freedom to choose and make decisions. If other people make decisions for us, we lose our own autonomy, our own decision making process, our own freedom and self determination, which obviously is not beneficial to anyone. So, when we have autonomy, there's a lot of benefits to it. We tend to have more authenticity. We can be the person that we are. We don't try to fight who we are. We just bring our own unique self to the table. And that's enough. It's enough just to be us and be on this life's journey that we're on. So we get to be our authentic self. If we like to play the violin, we get to play the violin. If we like to play frisbee golf, we can spend our time playing frisbee golf. If we like to write, we can enjoy and nurture our writing. And that leads me to when we have our autonomy, it impacts and increases our creativity. When we have freedom to make our own decisions for ourselves, it opens the door to allow creativity to enter. Versus if we're being controlled or restricted, then that closes the door to our creative path. It also provides intrinsic motivation. There's two kind of main types of motivation. One is external motivation. That's motivation provided by other people. For example, we may go to work to get a paycheck. That's external motivation because other people are paying you to do something. Versus intrinsic motivation is the motivation of doing things because we want to, because we enjoy it. So maybe we go to work and choose a career that we want to do, and so that would offer more intrinsic motivation. So obviously, we need autonomy, we need our freedom, independence, and self determination. We also need community. That's the other piece of this one. Community is a group of individuals who are connected to each other. They work together for a common cause and provide a sense of belonging. We obviously need that. We obviously, as humans, need to be able to work with other people, to feel like we belong here, to accomplish our goals together, to be connected. We absolutely need that. When we have that sense of belonging and that sense of community, we tend to have more unity. We're united towards a common cause, a common goal. We tend to also have more acts of altruism, which is essentially kindness for other people. So when we're focused on the community, we get out of ourself a little bit and we start thinking about others and we start to be kind to other people. And we absolutely need altruism. Those acts of kindness and compassion within groups offer several benefits. So people who do have that sense of belonging and are more altruistic, they tend to have lower mortality rates, so they live longer. They have increased happiness. We all need some joy in our life. And they also tend to have stronger relationships because there is that give and take. They can receive, but they also give. And that allows us to create stronger relationships. So there's a lot of benefits to being concerned about our community and taking steps to work for that common cause together. So we need both. Like I said, this is finding balance again. So there's moments in our life when we're going to need to prioritize our self-care. When we're going to have to take care of ourselves. Maybe we're going to engage in some creative expression. And typically creativity for the most part, is done by yourself. It can be done in groups. Obviously, there's writing circles and art get togethers where painters paint, writers write. You can play music together. But a lot of times, you do a lot of individual work with creativity too. So you may spend some time doing that as your self care. And there's other times when we need to focus on nurturing and supporting the people around us, supporting our community, giving back to our community. So finding that balance there between being concerned about self, meeting your own needs, making your own choices, being free, while also still taking into consideration being a kind and compassionate human being. That brings me down to the third area of balance: independence and dependence. Independence is the ability to experience your emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and values without being controlled by others. So you can make your own decisions, you can decide how you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your money, you get to feel your feelings, you get to have your own thoughts and beliefs without other people controlling or limiting or restricting you. When we have our independence, we tend to have more self sufficiency. We can take care of ourselves, we can meet our own needs, we can provide the resources we need financially or otherwise. We can self-regulate. That can come down to emotions, emotion regulation in particular. We don't need another human being if we're feeling feelings. We can regulate, like basically calm ourselves down in a moment of distress instead of depending on other people to calm us down for us. And then we can also engage in more personal growth when we're independent. We can identify our areas of improvement, our goal areas, and work to improve those to grow as a human being. So, the other side of independence is dependence. Dependence manifests when individuals seek assistance from others for essential needs like financial support, protection, security, or daily care. If you think about a assisted living facility or a nursing home, if you think about children going to school or preschool, daycare centers, they're more dependent on other individuals to help meet their daily needs. So, this can get out of balance as well. There's a concept of hyper independence where people are so independent that they refuse to accept help from anyone, which can be fairly isolating. When we don't communicate and express our needs to other people and work on things together, we become isolated. So then the flip side, when we're unbalanced on the other end of the spectrum, he has codependence. And that can go a couple of different ways in codependent dynamics, kind of depending on where you fall in that dynamic. So, codependence is when other individuals have an unhealthy reliance on others to meet basic needs. Like maybe a grown adult doesn't go to work and relies on their partner to pay all of the bills when that wasn't mutually agreed upon. Obviously, there are situations where partners agree on that. For example, one person may be a stay at home parent, and that's agreed upon. So, that's not codependence because both partners agreed to that dynamic and it's mutually beneficial for their family. Codependence happens when somebody just refuses to. Like they're capable of doing things, they just don't. The flip side of codependence and how those relationships can present themselves is the person who meets all of the needs for the dependent individual. So they're the one who works, maybe they work two jobs, and while the other partner isn't working at all. And so that creates a codependent sort of relationship. And a lot of times in those codependent relationships, the second part where the person is not meeting their own needs, they're meeting the needs of others instead of focusing on meeting their own. So, what's healthy in this dynamic is a concept called interdependence. That's a healthier alternative, which allows each of us to preserve our own autonomy and self determination while engaging meaningfully in social relationships. So, relationships are reciprocal. I talk a lot about that piece. There's a mutual give and take. Sometimes they get out of balance. In a healthy relationship, that'll self correct kind of over time and they'll get back to that balance. But it really is having your independence, having your autonomy, while also accepting help from others when needed. Okay, so that brings us to our activity. This is a fun one, at least in my opinion. It's pretty fun. So you won't be able to see it while I'm talking about it, but it's in the information below the video. So it's what's called an identity wheel. The identity wheel is a circle within a circle. It's a wheel. So in the inner circle, you write your name. You can print it off or just draw a circle, replicate it, whatever's easier for you, whatever you have access to. And then there's the different segments that identify a lot of different areas of who we are as a human, our identity. So, some things that go into our identity is community. We've talked about that one. Where do you live? What activities do you participate in? What groups do you belong to? What school did you or do you go to? Then there's religion and spirituality. Do you belong to a faith community? What helps you think about big questions in life? What holidays or traditions do you observe? That brings us to family. Who is in your family? Who lives in your home? What family roles are part of your identity that are important to you? For example, I'm a daughter, I'm a sibling, I'm a cousin, I'm a parent, I'm an aunt, whatever is important to you. Those can be aspects of our identity. Race and ethnicity is part of our identity. What race or ethnicity do you identify as? Where are your ancestors from? What cultural traditions do you have in your family? And that brings us to hobbies and interests. What do you do for fun? What activities are you involved in? What topics are you interested in? The next category is beliefs and values. What guides your decisions? What is important to you? Then another area is gender. Which, if any, gender do you identify as? That can be part of our identity. And then other. What other identities are important